This is an SM Media production. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of Golf Talk, your exclusive SM Media golf podcast. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure as always to be your host. It is that time of the year again. It is major season, and you'll see in the background we are heading to Augusta, one of the most beautiful places in the golfing world, as the Masters, the first major of the year, gets underway on Thursday. To join me as always to talk about the first major of the year, it is always a pleasure to welcome onto the show the one and only Andy Fullen.
Hi Scott, thanks for inviting me on again. I always enjoy coming on and talking about the best week in the golfing calendar. Everybody's, I think, especially looking forward to this year with the abysmal weather we've been putting up with. So it'll be great to see maybe not on Thursday, but it'll be great to see the sunshine at Augusta hopefully over the weekend and the course in full bloom and stuff. So I can't wait for this week.
Yeah, and you touched on something interesting there. Obviously, it is. I mean, it's one of my favourite weeks in the year in the sporting calendar. And in terms of this year, I mean, it's just been so miserable in terms of weather. Like, I think golfing-wise, I don't know, you obviously know better than me, but it's been so hard to get out on a golf course and do anything. It's just been wet all the time. It's windy. It's rubbish. And we're going to be watching Georgia, where I think the first days to be quite wet, but I think the second days to calm down. And that's what we like. We love this time of year, and it's Masters season. Andy, since the last time we've been on, we'll touch on the kind of course. We do this kind of every year. We touch on what you need to win at Augusta. We kind of know now that it suits big hitters. I think I read a stat today. Only 2 of the last 20 winners have been below 100 in the driving stats. Like, I think the 2 were Mike Weir and Zach Johnson. I mean, that kind of tells you everything, doesn't it? Like, you need to have a long game. You also need to have a very good read of the greens, obviously, the speed of them. But in terms of the kind of landscape of the golfing world, since we were last on, Andy, kind of one man's dominated. And I don't like doing this, but I think it's very hard as golf fans. And I grew up just at the I was just getting into golf when Tiger was becoming the man, and this is the closest I have seen in terms of one player just being so far ahead of everybody else. And of course, we're talking about Scottie Scheffler, who is just dominating. We were talking off air about his stats, but what he's doing now in terms of, I think you said there, he's only been outside the top 10 in 4 starts in the last year. I mean, he's putting up some frightening numbers. It's maybe difficult because we have Tiger in such a high pedestal, but what Scheffler's doing right now, is it the closest we've seen to that since Tiger was running the roost?
Yeah, numbers-wise, stats-wise, absolutely. I mean, the guys who dig into kind of data golf with strokes gained and stuff, he's comparable, if not on course, to be. It's very early in the season, but to almost surpass Tiger, as in ball striking stats, green approach to the green, stuff like that. He's just so he's dominant. And we joked as well before we came on it, but he should actually win more because he's there every single week. I mean, it's almost be like what you said there, being outside the top 10 4 times in a year. I mean, he's literally like, and one of them was 11th, by the way. So, I mean, he's it's not as if he's fell off the cliff. At 31st, his worst finish, but he's just there all the time, even with some really, really poor putting performances in that as well. And now he's still an average putter by going by the stats at the moment, but he almost, I mean, if he was to putt well, and so he would win by 10 comfortably, pretty much every week. And that's how good he is. And I think it's only now I think golf aficionados have really kind of have known for a while, or certainly he's been on the radar, but it's only now people are actually kind of coming to terms with how good he is. I mean, he gets labelled a bit unfair, a bit boring, or a bit kind of, there's no character. But I think how good he is making him more interesting. He's not going to suddenly be this charismatic Tiger-like or Phil-like person. He's just not. But very similar. I mean, I think almost a slightly better comparison personality game-wise is probably Nicklaus and Tiger, because obviously he's not anywhere near the historical kind of relevance that Jack Nicklaus has, but he goes about his business very quietly. He's not really the most popular. I mean, guys love McIlroy. McIlroy's more charismatic, whatever, but he just goes about his business so well, and he's just so strong. And yeah, we'll talk about his chances this week. But I think if you finish one shot ahead of Scheffler, you'll be in a pretty good position.
And it's that as well. Like, I think probably since Tiger and McIlroy's kind of been the closest in terms of we've needed a face to kind of dominate the game. Now, a lot of people say, like, in terms of sport, like, there's probably like kind of big example if you had a Formula One fan, it's probably Max Verstappen. And people say Max Verstappen's dominating Formula One, it's quite boring. I personally think we need stars like that. Now, I'm not saying, like, Max Verstappen's a bit different to Scottie Scheffler in terms of character, as you say, but I don't personally mind when you have guys who are just so far ahead. Like, no. You maybe had it in tennis, like you had kind of 3 at one time, 4 if you include Murray. Golf, Tiger, it is Tiger. Like, that's the only one that kind of comes to my mind who just took it by storm. And I go back to his last, the Texas Open a couple of weeks ago. His putting the first couple of days was really, really poor. As a brilliant third round, just as consistent all Sunday, and is in within misses a 6-foot putt. Didn't miss a putt within 7 feet in all 4 days, and the only putt he missed was a putt to take it to a playoff within 7 feet. And you're looking at it going, that's disappointing. But you're also looking at it going, how many times is he? How many times is he? Like, he was missing. God knows how many putts within 7 feet. That was his issue last season. Like, he was doing everything. Like, I remember we were having a conversation last year. I think it was around about the kind of, maybe it was a Masters time where he was defending. He was like, from tee to the front edge of the green. I mean, we're dealing with a stats machine, but it's on the green. But he's changed the mallet. It's there is an improvement. It's not completely transformed, but he's a better putter than he was 12 months ago. Yeah. And he finished 10th last year at the Masters, putting terribly. So even a wee improvement, and it's crazy to think what could happen.
Yeah, I think there's this. I think in golf, through the years, even before the amount of data that's available now, you had guys like Colin Montgomery, Lee Westwood. Colin Montgomery was just a greens and regulation machine, and his putts per round at the time as the main stat was never that high, and he I think bought into the fact that he wasn't a great putter. But it goes to say, if you're hitting every single fairway and every single green, you're not going to make 18 birdie, but it's impossible. It just doesn't work like that. So there is a kind of element to that, to Scottie Scheffler as well, but he's not. If he, like I said, if he was an above average putter, or even classes that as a good putt, now we're talking tour level here, we're talking the best players in the world, he would win every week by 10 or 12 shots, and that's just not going to happen. But what else is really interesting about him is he's scrambling around about the greens is so good as well, and that's what keeps him. On the very odd occasion he does miss a green, he will get up and down, and that's why he's so relentless. And with this there's literally putting, you could class it as a weakness, and I think it is an obvious weakness because the rest of his game's so good, but he's figured out something even that's got him improving a little bit stats wise. And his last, everyone's talking about he missed a 6-footer. He still finished tied second in a tour event, and he won the previous two. And his last round at the Players, he putted great. And shoots 64 and wins it, comes from behind to win it. And that's the other thing about his wins. He'll come from behind. He'll lead out in front. He's not a one-dimensional winner, I feel like, as well, as Tiger really was. Tiger was a front runner. Tiger wasn't really going about this Tiger charge and stuff. Tiger was a front runner. He would get out in front and not give anyone a sniff. Scheffler will win other ways. So if he is 4 or 5 behind, you can't really discount him.
No.
But yeah, he's incredible.
We'll get into his chances later on. In terms of the course, obviously, it's the only course about every year in terms of a consistent. Like we know what it's going to be every season. We know this is the one venue where you're at every year. What do you need to win at Augusta? Like that is the question. We know you need to be good round the greens. We know you need to be good in the fairways are obviously very, very kind.
Yeah.
You're a golf aficionado. Like Augusta now to what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. What do you need now that you maybe didn't need then?
You need to be a good iron player. I think you look at the list of winners that have been down there, and they're all really stellar iron players. There's a couple of anomalies in there, the likes of Zach Johnson, who I think lead up every par 5, and I think there's a really, really tough condition. So there's slight anomalies there where they have tried to change the course a lot or the course conditions, but in general, the greens are so slopey, they're so quick. Some of the pin placements, you have to be disciplined to hit away to just acknowledge the fact that you can't go to this pin, which is maybe a McIlroy kind of issue that we'll discuss later. But a good iron player, disciplined, good mental. You're going to probably have some bad breaks. You're going to spin off greens and be left with a 40-yard pitch. You're going to spin into the water. You're going to miss a short downhill putt, and you've got to be able to battle against it, to battle those kind of things as well. So you need to be good mentally, patient, good around the greens as well. You need to, if you do make a mistake, you need to get up and down. So that's where but I think premium iron players are in good shape around Augusta, I would think.
In terms of the weather forecast, and I'm just looking here just now, Thursday I think it is to be very. I think we're to get some rain on Thursday. I think it's to be quite dry there on in. How important is it that Augusta, like we always talk about how fast the start is, but how important is it if conditions are going to be tough on Thursday to just get your head above water and try and just if you're under par in the first day, I think you've got a chance.
Yeah, I think there's a stat that is 9 out of the last 12 winners have shot in the 60s in the first round. Something like that anyway that I'd seen. It's the kind of thing you could see. It's more the kind of wind for these guys. If it's wet, as long as it's not ridiculously wet, and the course is soft, you could see someone going out. One of the early guys, maybe one of the not so fancy guys, going out and getting off to a really hot start. And if you do that, it gives you something to hang on to for the rest of the round. I know the tee times have just been released today, so be interested to see if a few of the early morning guys. It's not a massive field. So there's not a huge. It's not like the Open where you could be on the wrong side of the draw. It's not really like that at Augusta. The tee times are pretty condensed because there's only like 30 tee times, but it could be, definitely if conditions are soft, make hay not when the sun shines, when the rain comes, almost kind of thing, but when the conditions are favourable, and it'll give you something to hang on to. We've seen that in the past at Augusta before, but yeah, if the wind gets up, it could be a case of just try to hold on and not shoot yourself out the tournament early doors,
Yeah, absolutely. But we've spoke a lot on Scheffler. I want to go to maybe we'll take a look at his caddy actually, because his caddy is a man by the name of Ted Scott, who obviously is a 3-time champion himself, and he did something interesting with one Bubba Watson where he won the tournament 2012, I think it was. And then Bubba went and regained the title in 2014. Now, Scheffler, 10 years on from that, he's obviously well favoured to do the same. The caddy's there. It would be quite a fun story if Scheffler was to win and a caddy. I think it'd be very interesting. A caddy 10 years apart to go and retain the title twice. And I think one thing that's really impressed me, and I really kind of look into this a lot, the relationship he's got with the caddy and player between Scheffler and Scott, I think is very, very impressive. Like in terms of kind of course management and kind of analysing what they need in a course, I've been really, really impressed with that more than anything kind of lately with Scheffler, just in terms of they don't make a mistake, and that's all about consistency, and that's what's impressed me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I was saying earlier on, if he does make a mistake, he usually gets something down because he'll miss it in the correct spot, you know. But yeah, it's a great point. You know, he's if there's something else that some of the players didn't want to hear, you know, that he's got a two-time Masters champion caddy on his bag as well. But going by what we've seen in like full swing in the first series, they seem to have similar kind of views off the course. He seems pretty unassuming guy, which again plays right into Scheffler's hands. That's exactly what he is off the course. I love the first series of Full Swing when you had the Scheffler and the Koepka episode, and you had Scheffler with his home life with his wife Meredith and go for a coffee. Then you had Koepka, who was in the doldrums, who was in his massive big mansion with the mullet he had. It was such a fantastic contrast, you know, and it shows you kind of, and absolutely full credit to Brooks Koepka for winning the PGA last year, but it really shows you Scheffler how you almost wonder what can go wrong for him. You know, that I know we're talking a lot about him, but he's world number one by a distance. But unless injury's the only thing, and with the kind of the movement that he has, that unique kind of movement over time. I'm nowhere near a biomechanics expert or something, but that's injury really is the only thing that I can see. You know, off the course he seems so stable. You say relationship with his caddy seems excellent. It seems an absolutely perfect fit. And that's the only thing. He doesn't seem to be the kind of guy who's going to go. He's not going to go off the rails. You wouldn't have thought. Having that beard's probably as exciting as it gets for Scottie Scheffler, I think. But it's a great relationship they seem to have, and he's obviously got someone there who he trusts completely, and they work fantastically well as well. Plus, how much money is Ted Scott making right now? You know, I mean, he'll just be absolutely, multi-millionaire every season.
Yeah, and that's the kind of frightening thing as well. One thing I was going to ask before we kind of move on to other contenders, if Scheffler had won 2 weeks ago, that'd have been 3 in a row, and he'd have been in here for 4 in a row. I think it's maybe been a bit of a blessing not winning, because I imagine going into this already as favoured as he is, going for a 4th successive PGA Tour. I mean, that would be frightening, and I think that in terms of that might be. Now, he's not a man who he's very, very good in terms of handling pressure, as we've seen over the past 2 years. But that would have been a different type of pressure, I think, if he'd went in there going for 4 in a row. That would have been unheard of, really. Yeah.
And it's kind of, as daft as it sounds, but law of averages kind of comes in. You know, no many players win 4 events in a row, especially 4 high profile. I mean, that's Bay Hill, the players. Okay, Houston was a slightly lesser event, but then and the Masters, you know, I mean, that's 3 out of 4 biggest events of the season. So you're absolutely right, and it's maybe again, I don't think he is a type who's going to get complacent, but it's just another wee kind of thing that he's not infallible, and he does need to work on a few things. So, you know, it could be bad news for everybody else.
One player who's going for his own type of history is obviously Rory McIlroy. He only needs a green jacket for the career Grand Slam, and this will be his 10th attempt at going for the career Grand Slam. And we kind of do this every year. It's kind of becoming a running joke. Can McIlroy win a major? Can he do it now? in terms of talent, we talk about it all the time. Of course he can, but it is just that thing of when it comes to majors, there's just something no there at the moment. Now, how do you analyse his chances this week?
Excuse me. What's interesting, he's been paired with Scheffler and Schauffele, so that's a stellar group. That I'm actually quite hopeful for. I would on record, I would love Rory to win it. I think I'm a huge Rory fan. Not with everything about him. I love the way he plays golf. I think he is the most naturally gifted player, not just at the moment, probably for a lot of years. I love his golf swing. I love the way he tries to play golf as well. I think he's a little bit. He's not had a I mean, some people have been saying he's a really poor. He's not really. He's not. He's obviously won in the Middle East. He won in the Middle East. He's had a fairly average, certainly for the number 2 player in the world, PGA Tour season, but he's making a lot of birdies, and I think it looks to me he's playing a lot leading into the Masters. He's not arriving here till today, I think it was he arrived. So he's coming in a bit late, so he's trying something different. I think it could be the conditions. If it gets wet and it becomes a bit of a darts fest over the first couple of days, that could really suit him. Where I think he possibly might struggle is if he tries to get, like we talked about earlier, just briefly, if he tries to get too aggressive. You know, he said a few times, famously, I think it was last year, when he did that it was the first one to do that kind of walk and talk out in the golf course, and he was saying things like, no, I've got to be patient. I've got to go off to a pretty poor start, and at his 6th or 7th hole when he done that, he was about 7 or 8 shots behind already, and he's saying, and it's almost a conundrum for him. When he tries to be really patient, it's almost going against his natural instincts to be attacking, and that's just the way he plays. He's got to find that balance where he's at his best when he's free flowing, but at the same time, don't go for silly shots. I just don't think he's found that. He'll always be the story coming in until he wins the Grand Slam. It's been so long since he's won a major. He's got a couple of good venues coming up for him this year. Everyone said since day one he's tailor-made to win the Masters. If he'd won the Masters back in 2011, God knows how many he would have won by now. He could have won 4 or 5 by now. But he's always got that now he's got that monkey in his back to try and shake off. But I quite like his chances because I like the fact he's making lots of birdies. In a good final round in Houston as well, which was good. He was a bit more steady the first couple of rounds, a bit less spectacular. Good final round to get him a decent finish. Sorry, not the last PGA Tour event, but I quite like his chances. Kind of quietly confident, I would put it for Rory. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if he went out and shot 76 the first round. I'm just kind of pretty shot myself out of it.
That's the thing with Rory I've looked at for years, is that he can shoot a 76 first round, but he could have 3 rounds in the mid-60s and still finish like a shot behind. Look at last year's US Open. It was brilliantly covered in the full swing second season when they were doing the battle in Fowler. McIlroy was there as well. Look back at that last day, you were saying, either McIlroy or Fowler win this, it would be brilliant. And none of them won it. Now, that's different, 2 different kind of sides of the coin, but that McIlroy, I think, did he shoot a 73, I think, the first round, and then just was so consistent the next 3 days and just misses out. And that's kind of been the story of his majors in the past kind of 5-6 years especially. And it's now getting time, like, 10, he should never be going this long without winning a major. Like, never. No. Like, his talent is nowhere. You know what I mean? His talent is just, it doesn't deserve that. I mean, 2014, you were thinking he's 4 majors. You were thinking in 10 years, how many will he have won? You were thinking double figures. And it's just been that thing. And on to somebody similar now. I think it's very, very difficult to really analyse this next player we're going to discuss now is the defending champion, Jon Rahm. Only one player in history has won back-to-back Masters. Andy, can you name him?
Ben Crenshaw.
It was Nick Faldo.
Faldo, sorry, Faldo.
Nick Faldo.
I knew Crenshaw won it twice because Faldo won it, aye.
I think Crenshaw did the win, then not win, then win the next year. So again,
I knew he'd win it twice, but of course Faldo won it twice as well.
Going back to back is very, very difficult now. With Jon Rahm, he doesn't have that body of work that normal Masters winners, defending champions have, where he has went. Obviously, he was the talking point of the off season when he went and joined Liv. Yeah. Difficult to really analyse Liv as we know. We'll get into Liv, obviously, can other players in Liv in a minute. But how do you analyse Rahm at the moment? Like, it's hard to obviously put into context his performances, but he's not finished any worse than 8th in his 5 Liv starts. I mean, he seems to be coming in playing well.
Yeah, I think as well, Liv. I'm not a huge fan of the format myself, but I think obviously it is getting stronger. You've got guys like Rat. He's not playing against, Westwood, Poulter, Stenson, these kind of guys that, who are really competing. He's competing against guys like, obviously, Taylor Gooch, who's been bumping his gums a lot before coming to Augusta, but Neiman, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Cam Smith. So they do have, the standard is getting better with Liv. He's not won an individual yet. I think he will be absolutely bursting to come to Augusta and prove to everyone. Yeah. And I think he's a type of, if he can kind of, manage his kind of frustrations, his mental side, I think he will come and I expect him to do well. I think the whole kind of myth that we're all probably a bit guilty of, you got to Live to basically semi-retire, was blown out the water probably last year's Masters when the Live guys performed really well. Koepka really should have won it. Let's face it. I mean, he was poor over the weekend, and Rahm was excellent, but and then you Reid and Mickelson doing well as well. So I think, I think he'll do well. Again, of course, obviously suits him very well. He's a defending champion.
He's got a terrific record, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, even out he's out with him top 2 top 5s, 7th, 9th. He's not. He's not going in there. He's not going in there. Kind of really. What's the best way of describing it? He's not under the radar, but I think with a bit of a chip on his shoulder is the best way to describe it. Even as defending champion, Scheffler is getting all the attention, and I think he'll be out there to prove that he is still one of the best players in the world, which he is. He's top. In my opinion, he's the second best player in the world at the moment, regardless of what tour he plays on. But I'd be interested to see how he does get on. Be interested to see how he deals with. I don't know if he's done his press conference yet. I've not been online a lot today, but it's the first time he's probably been in a position where he's not had the Live guys round about him, so he will get asked a few questions. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that as well. But yeah, he's absolutely world-class player.
I don't know if you've been watching some of his interviews in recent weeks. Do you not get the feeling there's a little bit of regret? Not going to Live, because obviously the money was the reason, but like when he was talking about kind of playing at like the Players' Championship Leagues, I think there's a wee part of him that's missing these kind of big events that I think he thought when he made the move he would maybe still get to play, and I think he thought it would maybe be done to that. Like, do you know what I mean? So I can't help but feel there's a wee bit of regret maybe on his side. Or
he would maybe be the straw that broke the camel's back to get everyone together, and it's not proven to be that. Sure, was it his first event? He was going on about somebody's mobile phone going off when there was like you could hear the DJ set in the background and stuff like that. So there are loads of wee kind of things like that. But Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's already talking about, you know, trying to get 72 holes in live events, you know, when the whole name, it's the Roman numeral for 54, you know, that's the whole premise of the live tour is 54 holes. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I think another one is Tyrrell Hatton. You've seen some of Tyrrell Hatton's kind of some of the things he's been saying as well. I mean, I don't think he's overly enamoured with the format as well. So, interesting to see what happens. But again, the great thing about this week is everyone's together. It's one of the 4 times of the year everyone will be together, and really for once we can talk about the golf for a change, you know.
And I think it's interesting, obviously, like in terms of live, like you've got the likes, obviously Neiman's playing really well. He might come up later when we do our picks. DeChambeau, I think his game's probably as good as it's been in a long time. Cam Smith looks a far better. Like obviously the talent's always been there, but he looks far more composed. DJ just looks a different. Do you know what I mean? He just looks far more motivated than he did. Koepka looks in a better place. So I don't think like there's 13 live players I think going this week. Obviously there's a couple like received the kind of invitations to be there. Like there's enough of them there to really cause a stir.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, definitely. And I think, like I said, that proved it last year, you know, with Reid, Mickelson and Brooks Koepka. I mean, they were right. They were pretty much right there, especially Koepka. I mean, like I said before, he should have won it. But yeah, interesting to say DeChambeau. I've got him earmarked. I think I don't know. I think he could have a good week. I think somebody from Live will. Patrick Reed is the ultimate baddie who just seems to do well. Augusta, he's got the perfect game for it as well. So, no, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the Live guys did do well.
Yeah, one legend who we are definitely going to see now. He's been declared. He's on the tee times. I think he's playing with Max Homa, and I can't remember who's the other one that he's playing with, but. Tiger is going to be participating at Augusta. Now, that is just box office in itself, as always. We know this isn't peak physical Tiger Woods. We know that. We know it is just, let's hope he can get 72 holes. Let's hope he can just do himself justice. And what should we expect from Tiger Woods? I think the wrong kind of question there was what can we expect? What should we expect? Because as a Tiger who is just kind of reaching the end, and we know that, and
yeah,
as long as he just shows something, just shows us that he's there somewhere, that's all that matters, isn't it? It's just at that stage now, like with Nicholas towards the end, like you were just happy the guy that he was there, and it's the same with Tiger now, isn't it? It's kind of getting to that stage, and it's so good to just fingers crossed he's able to do it. Like he's able to just make the cut, and he's able to sustain 72 holes. Like it'd just be so good to see, and he deserves it.
That's exactly my hopes for him as he makes the cut and he completes 72 holes. That's I think give us one round, give us a 69 or 70 or so. Just give us some moments. I think that's that's what we're looking for. But I mean, when he played 9 holes with Zalatoris the other day, and Zalatoris was giving it his striking is so good. And you're like, don't stop doing this to me. You know, stop. Just say he was fine. You know, it was great. You know, it was great to play with. And so don't stop giving everybody hope. But it's 72 holes would be an absolute making a cut in 72 holes would be fantastic. There's no. He's still got the shot. He's still got the speed, I feel like, you know, I mean, he still gets out there, and okay, he only played 24 holes at the Genesis, but he kind of showed enough shots apart from his back spasm shank, which I have just anytime I'm teaching someone and they've had shank, then it's just I just put them down for physiotherapy because it's obviously a back spasm, you know. But I think he showed enough there that he can still hit the shots. It's just how mobile is he? How is he going to cope with 4 days walking around? He's played 9 holes practice rounds yesterday. I don't know if he's done any today. Don't beat yourself. Surely he's not going to beat himself up playing multiple practice rounds. he knows the course better than anyone there. He's probably been up before as well. He'll get the inside track and what's going on. Yeah, just 72 holes if possible. Give us some moments. That's the best thing I think we can hope for from him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just all we want to see, and fingers crossed we see Tiger just do himself justice now. Before we wrap up, Andy, we've got our final part of the show. We've both got selections, who we think is going to be contenders this week. I've not shot Scottie Scheffler down as a pick, but I do have a wee bit of anti-post on him, as we remember at the start of the season predictions we did. He was one. Scottie Scheffler for the Masters and Tony Finau for the Open on my two picks. And I've got best price 10-1. It looks pretty good now. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going back in at 4-1, even though I think he's a belt in each way price, because I don't see 8 golfers finishing ahead of him. But I've got 5. I've got 5 other ones who I'm going to touch on, but I'm going to give the floor to you to start with. Who would be going to do well this week and why?
Well, Scottie Scheffler, because we spoke about him for the last kind of 45 minutes non-stop, but I just can't see past him. He's going to. I just hope I don't jinx him, but he's going to be there or thereabouts. I don't think there's any question of that. Slightly further out, I like Bryson. I think 33-1. I don't know. He's got a pretty poor record there, to be perfectly honest, and obviously he's got a bit of history with it's a par 67 and all this kind of nonsense. So I hope he just kind of similar to McIlroy. I hope he's patient and he just play. If he was to play the par 5s well, then he's certainly long enough to get home into every single one of them comfortably. So it should be a good fit for him. And like you say, he's in reasonable form as well, playing in Live. So I've got him. Zalatoris is another one who's just a major specialist. He's like a mini version of Brooks Koepka. Just doesn't really do much PGA Tour week to week, but come the majors, he is one of the men. He's come through obviously a lot of injuries and stuff as well. So I quite like the look at him. European wise, Shane Lowry, I think is a good bet. I think he's good. He's shown pretty good form in a lot of different categories. On the course, he's got a dynamite short game as well. Decent iron player. Doesn't drive it the best, not the longest. Again, Augusta's maybe not that penal for less than stellar drivers of the ball. So I think he could have quite a good week. And then just a bit further down, I think Denny McCarthy after his performance last week. I think a lot of people might be looking at Akshay Bhatia after his win, but people that have won the week before they go to the Masters have got pretty awful records. So I think his form in that back nine was just unbelievable. Was it 8 birdies, 9 holes, or 7 and 8 or something? It's incredible. To claw that back, and his golf was excellent, and just ran out of steam at the end. But you'd think he'll be kind of crest of a wave heading into Augusta. I think he could be the kind of guy who might fly under the radar a little bit. That's mostly my kind of picks that I've got there. But yeah, it's the great thing about Augusta is that you'll always get someone coming from kind of nowhere who is usually like with the amateur last year, who was doing really well, and you'll get someone like that. Nick Dunlap, he's another one I quite like the look of as well. You know, he's already won in the tour. Obviously, struggled a wee bit last few weeks, but young guy, why not just go out and enjoy yourself? Really, you know.
No, absolutely. I think I really kind of like the look of all them. I agree with you on Zalatoris. I'll start with him actually. I think looking at these, he's played twice at Augusta now. He missed the last 2 years, obviously due to injuries at Augusta, but he's finished second in his first start, then finished sixth. 6 top 10s in his last 8 completed majors. You said he's a major machine. Loves majors. Looks to be, just looking at him the past kind of few appearances, he looks back to good health and I wouldn't rule him out at all. He's consistent in majors. I think he's a really, really good chance here to hit the frame. All it is just that obviously, like, I think there'll be a wee bit of fire in him, obviously. Like, he probably would have been in the Ryder Cup squad last season if he was fit. Like, he probably would have been there. I think he would have certainly been there or been in with a shout anyway. And I think he will be. Done well at Bay Hill, done well at Riviera. Just looks like he's back to what he was before, like missing last season completely. So I think he's a big shout. You're going to laugh here, and I've been betting with him so many times in the past. I think Xander Schauffele is a belting each way price. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win because, obviously, like Scheffler's far better in terms of winning than Schauffele, but how many times has he put himself in a good position and something just doesn't click for him in the final day? But I think he's just, in terms of his kind of consistent form, he's just one of the very few golfers who just comes up short at the major time, but he's so consistent. I mean, second, third, 10th, 17th, and 4 out of 6 starts at Augusta. So it's pretty good going. So he's got a good record around the course. He's working with Chris Como as well. Runner up to Tiger 4 years ago, I think was his best. Yeah, that was his best chance. It's just that thing of can he just maintain it? Because he always starts pretty well, but just seems to have a bad thing that just kind of rules him out completely. I think the only concern I've got is winning. In terms of being, I think he'll be in the frame. I think he'll be rock solid to finish in the top 10. I think I'm fairly confident in that. Really like Joaquin Niemann. Thought he's been probably playing the best golf of his career at the moment. In terms of kind of how he's been as well, obviously, I think there's a wee bit of a story there. In terms of his ball striking, I think his iron play, you mentioned a lot about iron players. I think there's very few as good as him. So I would give him a big chance as well. Yeah. And steady improvement. Not really got a brilliant Augusta record, but I don't think he's been playing as good as he is now. And I think in terms of the way that he's greens, his putting's not bad either. His putting stats are up there as well. 5th go, special invitation, pretty good story. I don't think a Chilean, I think the closest was Mito Pereira a couple of years ago. But a Chilean's ever really contended in a major, so we'd give him a big shout. Sahith Theegala, I think will one day win the Masters. I don't think it'll be this year, but I think he's a serious chance to be an each-way contender. He was the one for the full swing that I really was taken by. I was like, I'm going to keep an eye on you. You're really good.
He'd be a great winner. I think everybody would just, love it if he sees wee dads running about Augusta. They just, absolutely love it.
He's putting, I think he's one of the best putters. I think his approaches as well. I think his iron play is very, very good. Just he's only played once. He finished 9th in his first start at the Masters last year. I think I'll be confident in saying maybe in 5 years' time, Andy, that we'll be talking about Sahith Theegala as a Masters winner. I think the course completely placed his strength as a brilliant profile for this. I think he's got a good chance of being consistent. I think another consistent player who did really well last year has just been very consistent. I've got it here just in terms of he's finished 4th last year at Augusta. Russell Henley, I think, is a big chance. Now, just
very good
iron player. Very good iron player. 31st, 12th, 11th, 15th, 30th, and 4th. He's just so consistent. And you need that. And I think in terms of, I don't think Russell Henley's going to be I don't think he puts up trees as the best player on the tour, but he's one of the most solid. Like, you look at his stats, he's, especially as you say, with his irons, I think he's putting as well. Like, his putting's really good. Like, his form book, he's got the form in the book. I think either one of those 5 I'll be fairly happy with. But for me, I think if you're in front of Scottie Scheffler, you're probably wearing a new jacket on Sunday. Like, I think you are. I think he's just so good. And what would it be like? Let's say, for example, I know people have been talking about this. I think it was Brandel Chambly that brought it up. It's if Scottie Scheffler wins this by 6 shots, it's going to be quite boring. Is it though? Because we're watching a superstar at work. It's not going to be boring.
No, I think that's, and I think it's it's like watching Roger Federer win Wimbledon every year. It's you could say that's boring, but it's not, because you're watching a genuinely great sports, genuine, legendary, world-class sportsman at his prime in his sport. And I'm not saying Scheffler's at that stage yet, but he's trending so far ahead of everyone that I think he almost needs that, because for people to, even now, like I said, I still think he should probably win some more. But even for the average American Joe sports fan who still probably doesn't know who Scottie Scheffler is, but to really sit up and take notice, and go, this guy is the proper real deal. And that's what give you almost a Tiger-like dominant performance. Look at some of Rory's early wins, and that's what really propelled him, winning by 8, winning by 6, stuff like that. So I think it would be probably the best thing for golf, to be perfectly honest, if he done that. I don't think it would be boring in the slightest. So yeah, and it could happen, but again, we've spoken a wee bit off air. The quality is so strong now that it was very difficult for that to happen, But yeah, I think it would be great if it did happen, or even like obviously a McIlroy win, or some kind of story, a Scheffler landslide or a McIlroy win would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's always the best week of the year in terms of the golf season, Andy. Thoroughly enjoyed your company tonight. Thank you very much for coming on, and as always, enjoy Augusta.
Yeah, thanks for really, again, love being on talking about the Masters especially, but I can't wait to just plant myself on my sofa for the next, from Thursday to Sunday, full control of the remote for a change, and just that's it. Stuck there till Sunday night. So yeah, no, I really can't wait, and thanks very much for having me on.
Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in, folks. Please enjoy the Masters, and we'll be back soon with a new episode of Golf Talk. Thank you very much.